Now, thanks to these policies that Biden and other out-of-touch politicians in Washington gave us, our country was flooded with cheap Chinese goods, with cheap foreign labor, and in the decades to come, deadly Chinese fentanyl. We're going to build factories again, put people to work making real products for American families made with the hands of American workers. Together, we will protect the wages of American workers and stop the Chinese Communist Party from building their middle class on the backs of American citizens.
And that was Ohio Senator and Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance last night, speaking about how China hurts the U.S. economy at the Republican National Convention. Former President Trump will address the RNC and accept the GOP presidential nomination later tonight in a highly anticipated speech. Later this evening, Florida Congressman Byron Donalds was standing right next to Trump and sitting with Trump all night after he made his powerful entrance on Monday night. Trump's first appearance, of course, since being shot in the ear. Congressman Donalds joins me right now as a member of the House Oversight and Financial Services Committees and a member of the Freedom Caucus as well. Congressman, it's always a pleasure.
Good morning, Maria. Good to be with you.
Thank you so much for being here. So first, assess last night, another string of great speeches last night where the audience was so energetic. How would you assess the night?
Massive success. Really happy for JD. Is really his introduction, he and his wife, to the American people. Look, I think what you're witnessing this entire convention is that the focus of President Trump and JD Vance is about the forgotten man and woman of America, whether it's with manufacturing jobs, middle-income families, Americans who live on the southern border, whether you're an ethnic minority in the United States. It has been about every segment of our country that has been left behind by the disastrous policies of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And so that's our focus. Looking forward to the president coming out tonight. It's going to be an epic evening.
Did he tell you anything about his speech?
No. He's keeping that one he's close to the vest. But I think even if you've talked to the president the last couple of days, after the attempt on his life on Saturday, I think his resolve is higher than I've ever seen, but I think he's really embracing the moment. And it's a moment not just for our party, which is united behind him, but it's really a moment for our country, and especially in light of the fact, let me say, that we realize that Joe Biden does not have the capabilities of leading our nation. We knew the job was being done terribly, but now we really know he doesn't have the capabilities of doing this job. I think President Trump is more than prepared to step into that moment tonight.
That is very concerning. A lot of people talking about unity in the Republican Party. Is that what you see? I mean, or are there still never-Trumpers all over the place?
That's not what I see. Our party is more united than I think I've ever seen it, quite frankly. One of the reasons why I was really happy that Ambassador Haley and Governor DeSantis were here to share not just their full-throated endorsement for President Trump, but to actually speak with the convention. The convention was happy to see them here. Our party is united. We're ready to go.
We've got to turn to this Secret Service investigation. Obviously, your chairman in the Oversight Committee wants Kimberly Cheadle to testify. Cheadle is now complying with this House Oversight Committee subpoena to appear for a hearing on the attempted assassination of former President Trump. The hearing is Monday of next week. Oversight subpoena states that the Secret Service was initially open to working with the committee and having Cheadle testify, but then the Department of Homeland Security got involved, and Alejandro Mayorkas intervened and tried to block it. The Secret Service is no longer providing meaningful updates or information, but they are agreeing to testify. A Senate briefing yesterday revealed Secret Service identified the gunman as suspicious more than an hour before he actually opened fire and 10 minutes before Trump took the stage. So why didn't they tell Trump to hold off and not go out on stage? The agency designated the shooter as a threat, but they still allowed him to go out on stage. Senators Marsha Blackburn and John Barrasso actually confronted the director of the Secret Service, Kim Cheadle, here yesterday. Watch this.
This was an assassination attempt. You owe the people answers. You owe President Trump answers.
Wow. Congressman, your reaction?
Well, first of all, if you know Joni Ernst, she is tough as nails.
Yeah.
She's not going to sit around and wait for anything, whether it's a hearing or anything else, to get answers. Secondarily,
yeah, she was just here a moment ago. Marsha Blackburn, and was there, pushing back. Who's also tough on everything.
Marsha she's just as tough. I will tell you. Didn't know that the head of the Secret Service agency was here last night.
Yeah, John Barrasso and Marsha Blackburn went right over to her.
I'm glad that they were trying to get answers from her. We have seen the stonewalling occur in the Oversight Committee. Glad that they're making that adjustment to About Face and give us that information. But there is a serious concern. If they knew about this shooter 1 hour before, and there was not the necessary action taken, we have many more questions than just how did somebody access a roof 150, 200 yards away from President Trump. We really are going to get to the bottom of this. And I will also say we have members on the other side of the aisle who are taking this just as seriously. I'm not going to reveal them yet because we're having these conversations behind closed doors right now. But you have Democrat members who want to get to the bottom of this just as much as Republicans.
Well, that's good to hear, because everybody should be outraged by this. I mean, look, we have obviously no evidence of sabotage, but that's what people are talking about online. But really, I'm wondering if this is just ineptitude, that they said, oh, well, we're not going to go out of our way for Donald Trump.
Listen, I will tell you, Maria, I hope it's ineptitude. And as terrible as it sounds, I hope that it's that. I hope that it's somebody just missed it.
Versus what?
Versus something that's a lot more darker for our country. I don't want to speculate on that.
Right. Special counsel Jack Smith, meanwhile, is appealing Judge Eileen Cannon's decision to toss out the Trump classified documents case. Judge Cannon ruled that special counsel Jack Smith was improperly appointed, declaring it unconstitutional. Smith's appeal is going to be heard by the 11th Circuit Court in Atlanta. Congressman, I know that you were actually on the phone with former President Trump when he learned that the classified documents case was dismissed. What's your take on that? It feels like all of these indictments, one by one, are, being exposed for really, not real.
The case should have never been brought in the first place, and this is the fundamental problem. Yes, Jack Smith was appointed in an unconstitutional manner, simply because, in my view, what Merrick Garland, the White House counsel, and others, what they wanted was a rabid person like Jack Smith to go after President Trump. This was outrageous. Presidents are allowed to go through their documents over a 5-year period. That's federal law. Terrible case. Glad it was kicked out.
What about the other cases that are still remaining? Are you expecting a similar fate?
I think so. Look, at the end of the day, I think what's coming is...
This was the big one, though, the classified documents.
This was the big one, but what's coming right now is the fact that you have these cases that are they're political in nature. It is lawfare. It has backfired in such a tremendous way. I don't think they can really move forward.
A lot of people see it that way. Congressman, it's great to see you.
Great to be here.
Thanks very much. Byron Donalds here joining